Gavin Rossdale from Bush coming to Casino Rama, July 26th with JJ Wilde opening. Are you familiar with JJ Wilde's work? She's performed our
Uh,
Rock Night My Birthday Bash before. Are you familiar?
yeah, I'm getting to know her, and everyone's raving about her, and I'm getting the Janis Joplin vibes. Listened to a couple of tracks, kind of raunchy blues, and super cool. Can't wait to hear her sing.
An authentic throwback to the rock and roll vixen era, who's going to complement your guys' sound, I think, pretty good. You've been in that opening spot, and now you've got the cool position of introducing yourself to new acts that are opening for you guys. Talk about how important that spot is, and how maybe it's indicative of kind of a game-changing position. You can make or break relationships. I'm sure you've got amazing stories of.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. When I began, it didn't open for anyone. I just struggled through the club system first, and then theaters, and then arenas, and never did it. And then in the new sort of age and new era, sort of post COVID, and sort of taking stock, we began to open for people, which I really didn't really like to do. I just thought it was really weird. But I think it really depends on the band. So if you support the right band, like people that like Bush will like JJ, you know, it's a good mixture. Sometimes, that slot is okay as long as, you know, you can't be that. And then there's a metal crowd, super heavy metal, So, sometimes it's the right thing to do. And sometimes I've done tours where I've opened people, and I don't think it was the right choice, actually, because I think our music's so far apart that their audience came in, and well, I was never going to convert that many of them. So I'm a bit skeptical about it. But in this situation, I love it when it's the acts are aligned.
So before we go any further, because the accent is beautiful, I have to ask, UK by way of Canada and now coming to us from LA, are you paying attention to the FIFA World Cup, and how divided are your allegiances if you are?
Oh, I mean, I'm obsessed with the World Cup. There's been so many games that I find myself always doing something when they score. I'm always like, yeah, fuck. It's like, because you can't watch, what you're watching four games around, you're like, so then you posh around and do something, pour a tea bag, crack a beer, and someone scores, you're like, but, I mean, for me, obviously I'm English, so there's no division. I could support Scotland, and I could support America. America's given me so much, and I'm an American citizen as well, but, no, England's my DNA, man. So there's no way around it.
We've got this interesting situation here in the new world of the Western Hemisphere, where you've got everyone who's obviously cheering for Canada, but they've got their heritage on the other side of their car. We got a lot of car flags, Canada flags, and then like the Portuguese flags or the English flags or whatever. So we're divided, if you can believe that Canadians are divided. So it's nice to finally hear someone stick to the guns at least.
Yeah, well, I like to see something, yeah. But Canada doing great. They've done great, right?
So speaking from an athletic standpoint, I wanted to ask you about kind of what's become trendy in the health and wellness world. I know this is important to you, but you've got a lot of advancements in medicine and recovery and science, and you got a lot of influencers and kind of shysters who are still trying to capitalize and sell some stuff. So as a touring musician who wellness is important to, I'm wondering if you can speak to any kind of product or method, anything that's working for you, anything you can swear by and kind of let people know about.
Well, I think that it's turned out to be true. The magnesium glycinate really does help you sleep. Apigen, in there. Sleep is really important. Have been looking into that whole NAD plus. I think that's a really good cellular nutrition to indulge in. And there's also I hurt my ankle the other day, and I spoke to my doctor, and he suggested the BP157, which is one of these peptides. Everyone's crazy for the peptides now. And the TC500, I think, but they're just really good for inflammation. So it's a bit confusing because it's like, you know, it used to be boring gluten, non-gluten. Now it's like, um, the peptides, and it's like the cortisol levels are the latest. Oh my God, it's your cortisol. Well, oh my God, my cortisol level. It's really hard to keep up with what you should be. I go through airports rattling, with all my supplements. And I had to go on ChatGPT saying, look, I've got all these supplements. What am I taking? Why am I taking them? What is really helping me? And so whittling it down to what was essential, because I never used to take anything. And then I just sort of thought, well, it's like the same thing with what are those? The strength one. But yeah, see, I'm losing the name of it. But there's lots of different
Routine?
creatine. Thank you. So now I got these gummies. I read about these gummies are really good. Now normally gummies don't work as supplements, but these ones are really good. So I've been taking them, but I haven't felt too different. But only about a week of that. My problem is that I get into one thing for a bit, and then I travel. Suddenly I'm like, my magnesium must be really low, or like my cortisol level or something. So I try to keep abreast of it. I think that it's just important to keep moving. I do a lot of recovery and daily ice baths, if that counts. That I think is incredible. I play tennis or whatever I do. I have ice baths after I do shows. Every day I can, I do an ice bath.
Get teased a lot for the ice bath thing. So, I mean, if you're hearing it from Gavin Rossdale, can we stop teasing McCully on the ice baths? It's a proven technique. Thank you for that.
You do it. No, they're the best, aren't they?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do like 42 degrees, 3 minutes. I have my hands out and I sit there and I'm just like, holy moly. But then after 3 minutes, I get out and the blood feels a bit like a granita, but it feels a bit weird. And then, that feeling, I just feel like $1 million.
Well, you mentioned hurting your ankle last week, but over the course of your career, were there any injuries? Is there anything that's been long term that you've been dealing with in your day to day routine?
Yeah, well, there was a time when I was on stage I think I may have been in Australia, and I felt something go in my left knee, and I basically semi-tear of the meniscus. So that was really difficult. I had a whole show to do, and I knew that I was limping, and I had to lean on the other foot. And then, when you over lean on one leg, you injure that leg as well. So that was a nightmare. And I came back home and I was to the doctor. I was like, look, I got a whole organization that depends on this knee. I got to be healthy. And so we did the little stem cell in there, and then PRP
The
and
technologies.
rest, and just physical activity, and moving it and strengthening it. But it's all better now. But that was just really annoying for a while.
Well, we've got to talk about the music, obviously. And one thing I
Good,
want to touch on
good.
was
No one, no
how,
one cares about my knee.
I could talk about that for hours and hours and hours. But for the fans that are coming out to Casino Rama, you've been pretty prolific with musical creation in recent years. And I know that you've said it and I've read it talk about this last record being the most personal. I'm just wondering if there was a conscious effort to be more personal, or did it just happen with your maturity and the process of this album?
I just thought about the perspective, when I was thinking about, okay, 10th record is an auspicious kind of number. And what is my value? What have I brought to this world of music? What can I do? How can I distill whatever people have connected to? How can I distill that further into something as interesting as possible? So I just figured to quite often, I'll get to a certain point in a record and I will deviate and start singing songs about situations or something I've seen and outside influences. And on this one, I didn't. I just kept on going on what I was thinking, and I thought, just be yourself, be open, be honest, and be transparent, and be as vulnerable as possible. And what was my favorite thing about it was that by being as individual and as sort of navel gazingly self-obsessed as possible, like my own truth of what's going on, what I feel, what I think, you find the universal truths. Whereas ironically, if you started out trying to find something universal, it would be void of personality, it'd be void of personal experience. I had to dig deep in terms of, I don't know, just trying to say what I thought, get rid of a lot of stuff. So kind of edited myself to get the best out of it, and then just said it. That's it. And it's a bit silly because I've always been really personal. I think having the word "I" in the title probably gave it away. That it was,
How much of a balance and battle is it then to balance, whether it's the fandom or whether it's staying true to your sound or or I don't know if you even put this much effort into it, but like Bush from the beginning to now more mature, more worldly, more experienced, and the music you're putting out now. Do you put any effort into balancing to maintain like the classic fans that are coming out, the fans that love the new stuff? What is that balance like?
I have a vague sense of what is good about myself and about the songs that I write. And if I write something that appeals to me, it's, the music's right, it feels right, singing something plaintive, that's all I need. I don't overly manicure it in context of other people. I do think about the people that I see regularly at the shows, and I love the idea that I repay their love and devotion by making brilliant records, as brilliant as I can make them. The better I can represent myself for those people that have put time, love, energy, and support into me. I just think of them playing the songs and not being disappointed. When I first had kids, people say, "Oh, have you written any songs about your kids?" And I'd be like, "Oh my God, that's ridiculous. Of course not." But what happens is that when I did have the kids, I wanted to make sure that no record sucked because I didn't want them to be at school and be like, "Your dad's new one sucks. I mean, the old ones are pretty good, but this one's terrible." Just thought that'd be the worst thing. So I love the idea of every record gets slightly heavier. Um, it just, it's just so good in its inverted approach. It's just not what you'd expect. The idea is as you get old and you mellow and I just love the idea of getting older and not mellowing and making stronger music and stronger statements, stronger sentiments. And that's all it is. I don't care who or when someone wrote a song. It's just, is it great? I was playing a playlist yesterday. I was playing for my girlfriend when we went away. And I suddenly remember there's this band X-Ray. Do you know this band X-Ray? EX, then RAE.
I'm gonna look it up.
Oh my God. I was like, why am I not listening to this all the time? And it's just funny how you just like things happen. The universe gives you certain songs. And I was thinking, I, I haven't even given this song love for so long. And I love the song. It's absolutely genius. And, so yeah, for me, the challenge is just to be as good as that. Like I want to make music that someone puts on and goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe I found this." I mean, I've given up. I don't have aspirations of 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 what it was like back in the day, 50,000 records a week and selling, 26 million record. It's a stupid um concept. Doesn't make any sense. But what makes perfect sense is I can totally control what we put out. And in a world where people don't even care about albums, but it's brilliant. It's an artistic statement to put out 8 or 9 songs that are like a great body of work because why not? Why not? It's just like why not? And yeah, I love that.
You touched on trying to be cool for the kids, and I think it's an old cliche of like no matter what quality of music you're putting out, for most parents, the kids will not think you're cool no matter what. But I think it's also cliche to ask about how parenthood affects your songwriting, as you alluded to. But I want to flip the script and ask, how has rock and roll impacted your parenting? Is there any kind of correlation you can draw that this music biz and this career you've had have helped you out as a dad?
Well, I appreciate my kids so much. I mean, I've worked and been away pretty consistently for much of the time. I mean, not insane and not the worst touring, but definitely a lot of shows. And the sacrifice always was them. They were always the sacrifice. And my way of redressing that balance is to be the best father I can and the most present father. And I don't get the luxury of seeing them every day. I live in it's like what do you call it? Post-divorce, you have so I only get my kids half the time. And I think what's between the music and not having them all the time, it's been so painful. So I just make sure that I'm always available to them. And when I'm home, there's been quite a number of times where I'm either touring or with them. And so either with them full on 24 hours a day, running everything for them, or touring. And so I think that what music has taught me is how much I love them, because I wander around in the day kind of going, oh my God, I can't believe I'm still away. I got to get home, and then do the show, and you justifies it. And, and it's my job. And now they're at the age where they understand. The two older ones don't really care if I come and go. And the 12-year-old is sort of so used to it that he's just like, doesn't, still has a nice time when he goes to his mum's. So, um, yeah, just the degree of sacrifice is what the road showed me.
Well, you're juggling a lot, including taking the time to talk to the media today, which we appreciate. And I know that you're doing a lot of these interviews, so I'm sure this is a cumulative question over your entire career. But after a long day of talking to media, I'm curious if there is a question that you're just like, oh God, please stop asking me this, or a subject that you're like, we've done this a million times. Is there anything that comes to mind that you want to put in the rear view for us media types in the future?
Well, no, because everything is alive. Maybe the Bush X thing, that went away, but I do get asked about that sometimes. But still, but ultimately, it's a really difficult world in which to make music. We appreciate the support that you give us, an outlet to talk about the tour, talk about the music. And in fact, it's just slightly different. Back in the day, it used to be the same thing, but you do press for these blocks. Now you do Zooms. So I get to dictate what I say. Like if I don't want to say something, I shouldn't say it, you know, and I don't get edited that much. When I was beginning, you would spend 2 or 3 days with journal, or sometimes the quick ones, the 20 minutes, and then they would interpret and rewrite what you said. So often the tone was completely lost on things. So now people get a chance to decide whether they like you or they think you're a jerk. You know, whereas before it was at the behest of the journalist. And if the journalist was a great journalist, write really well and loved you, you could be, deified. And then conversely, if you had someone who just didn't like you for any reason, music, personal, they could just destroy you and make you come across like a complete twat. So that's the worst thing of like, hang on, that's not what I said, how I said it. But
Well, my final question for you is something a bit of a cultural indent that you've made, and I'm not sure if you're aware. I'm sure you remember when Much Music came out with their series of Big Shiny Tunes compilation records. That is
right,
considered in Canada. That's considered like a cultural moment in time. That there are people that still identify with that era, and Bush and you are the face of the Big Shiny Tunes era in Canada. And while it might not be your entire album, it is your guys' contributions to these compilation albums that have stood the test of time, that still get talked about, that are still a legendary part of people's lives. So what does that mean to you to hear about the being the face of an era in music in
yeah.
Canada?
I mean, it's incredible. When I think back to the way that I couldn't get out of the car to get to the radio stations, the degree of hysteria was on another level. It was like almost South American. It was really exciting. So I have such a deep love for Canada. That what an honor to be part of people's lives like that. It's such an honor. You know, you don't take much perspective earlier on in your life. You don't really think about it. Now I have a bit more of an overview, sort of a drone shot of my life to an extent. And wow, to be treated like that and to have that sort of audience and that affection was something that you never forget.
Any closing message for the Bush fans that have been with you from day one through to 2026 that are coming out to Casino Rama? An expectation or a little
Yeah,
nugget?
like, of course, we've sort of been on this journey together. It feels like, you have fans long enough, you sort of grow up together. You grow up through things and you go through different life losses, births, deaths, marriages, divorces, um, wars, pestilences. Um, we've been through a lot. So I just love the idea of coming and being the best we've ever been. That's because I don't understand it, but we are. We just are. And so that's, as I say, I quickly qualify that with that's not meaning that I'm going to take over the world and move over Bieber. I'm just going to stay in our lane, but it just means that it's a high quality pop up.
July 26th, Casino Rama. Bush, the best they've ever been. Couldn't have succinctly put it any better than that. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us. We
Thank
can't
you.
wait to see you
Appreciate
guys.
you.